Hello friends, welcome back to Apex Chess Academy. Okay, so today's our theme is Immobilizing the King, right? Which looks very interesting. Okay, so this is the initial position. I speak the initial position for the blind player. King b1, queen d2, rook h1, rook d1, bishop f1, bishop e3, h2, g2, f3, c2, b2, a2. Black, king g8, queen c6, rook f8, rook a8, bishop g7, bishop e6, h7, g6, f7, e7, b7, a7. Here's black to play. Okay, so this was my game against some 1900 player, and it was black to play. Here I played the move. Okay, if you want to guess, you can just pause. Okay, here I played queen a4. The point behind this move is I am basically provoking some sort of weakness here. Either b3 means we just black can just move a queen somewhere and try to play a5 a4, which is basically we are able to achieve a pawn storm. Okay, here pushing a pawn won't help, so here pawn storm won't help because of very strong setup a2 b2 c2. If opponent has pushed any of this pawn, it's easy to break this setup. Okay, that kind of concept we'll learn separately in our future theme, pawn storm. But here a5 or b5 won't help, and that's why I played queen a4 to provoke some sort of weaknesses, either b3 or a3. In case of b3, we can just move our queen and play a5 a4. If a3, now we have three choices. We can just start with a5, then b5, then b4, or maybe directly start with the b5. But in that case, we have to deal with queen b4. If we are playing a5, then b5, b4, that is possible, but looks a little bit slow to me. The third plan which I like is rook c8. Okay, so you can just figure it out which one is best, but this rook c8 was my personal liking, and the point behind rook c8 was immobilizing opponent's king. Now how? For example, if you are able to achieve some pressure on b2 or b2 or a2, opponent has some chance to place a c3 or c4 to bring a defense to this b2 pawn by throwing the c pawn, or maybe you're just pushing the c pawn bit forward. So here my aim is not to allow c3 in future, and that's so called immobilizing opponent's king or the king side pieces, especially. Here the queen is on queen side, but it does not matter where the king is. We try to immobilizing that particular whole side, and that we can do it with some sort of moves like rook c8. And here our both bishops are very strong, so this is also our future theme. Let's say the power of bishop pair. Okay, so here we want to basically improve our bishops. So how to improve? The b2 pawn is very annoying, right? So we just want to remove that pawn, but how? So our idea, okay, let's say here my opponent played bishop d3, which looks normal, right? And here you can pause the video and try to find out the best move if you want to. So here the main move which immobilizing the whole queen sides here, so it was rook c3. The point behind this is if opponent takes on c3, for example, let's say here if someone takes on c3, we'll just take queen into a3, and now the threat is just queen a2 check and queen a1 mate. And if you push your c pawn in order to block the e6 bishop, but now the g7 bishop becomes monster, and now queen b2 is a mate. So after rook c3, opponent cannot take. And basically what we did by playing this move, we simply blocks the second rank. In fact, after blocking the second rank, the queen is not coming into the defense. This was the idea behind immobilizing by giving a rook sacrifice, in fact. So after rook c3, it's not possible to take. So my opponent, okay, now what is threat? If opponent is not taking on c3, black's threat is to play rook into a3. Boom. So now our threat is rook a1 mate, and if opponent takes on a3, now we'll take it back with the queen, and again the power of bishop pair is just tremendous. So queen c1 was forced, but for example, if someone plays rook de1, we just take rook a3, pawn into queen into, and again that is unavoidable mate. So after say rook c3, if suppose white goes for queen c1, and now there are a few ways to improve. We can even choose some moves like rook b3, still continuing our threats like the same way, or we can just play rook fc1. Again opponent cannot take, and if takes we have the same move rook c3. Once again after bc3 rook c3, still the threat is rook a3 and rook a1 mate. If okay, there are two good moves like rook, we have seen two good moves, rook fc8, rook b3. Another good move which I played in my game, which was queen to a5, and the threat is same. If opponent takes on c3, we can just take it back with the queen, and there is no way to avoid queen a1 checkmate. So opponent cannot take on c3, so I'm just renewing the threat. Opponent cannot, make sure that opponent cannot take on c3, and at the same time I am preparing queen d5. If opponent plays say bishop e2, still I have, for example, let's say if bishop e2, I have still some moves like rook into a3, pawn into queen c3, and opponent now has to give up bishop with bishop d4, and then has to give up his rook as well, and I'm just pawn up. Still there is some attack on king, so bishop e2 was best, but still black was better. But here my opponent straight away falls into trap. He just played bishop d2, I played queen d5, and my opponent resigned, because now queen a2 is mate and b3 is simply made by rook into b3, and it's still we can see the power of both bishops. So the crucial idea was rook c3, where we are immobilizing opponent's whole queenside pawns. In fact, the same idea we can add up when the king is on the short side, for example. And let's say if you are playing if you are white, we are playing rook f6. If you are playing black, we are playing rook f3. So the same kind of theme we can achieve in case of short castle as well. We are still basically immobilizing opponent's whole king side or the queen side by playing our rook on say c3, or rook on f6 or f3, or rook c6. These are the ways to immobilizing the whole queen side by not allowing any kind of pawn push or through second rank. So the second rank is basically b2 or a2 pawns in operation, right? So hope you have enjoyed this video series. Thank you friends, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.